Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be making an easy weeknight dinner with only 4 ingredients. It sounds so simple and so easy, and it's one of those recipes where I thought, why haven't I ever thought of that? Today, we're going to be making ravioli lasagna, a 4-ingredient lasagna that is 4 ingredients. I mean, technically, as a lot of these minimal ingredient recipes go, there are a lot more ingredients, but you don't have to prepare those ingredients. I mean, for example, the ravioli that we're going to be using today, they contain lots of ingredients, but I'm not mixing those ingredients together to create the raviolis because they are already made. So I'm calling it 1 ingredient. So we can split hairs, but we're going to stick with a 4-ingredient recipe moniker because those are the 4 things that you need to buy to make this dish. So enough yapping, let's go ahead and get started. So what is a lasagna? A lasagna is essentially a casserole that uses pasta and layers of sauce and some kind of white sauce, bechamel, or cheese to layer things up. You bake it and then you let it cool a bit so that you can cut it into big squares or chunks, and you've got your pasta bake essentially, but it's in a layered form. We're going to be doing that, but we're going to be using this instead. Pre-made ravioli. This is in the refrigerator section at a lot of grocery stores. You can use any ravioli you like. Meat ravioli. In this case, I have cheese ravioli that I picked up the last time I was at Trader Joe's. Now, what I love about this is that you can keep these in your refrigerator, but you can also store them in the freezer, and you can make this recipe using frozen ravioli. So another quick and easy way to make a dinner. So let's go ahead and get started. I found a few recipes on how to make this online. I'm going to make the simplest version. If you want to use a meat sauce, you want to saute up some vegetables, add some onion or garlic, feel free to do so, but I'm looking for the simplest, easiest version to get a lasagna on the table as possible. So I'm not going to add any ground sausage or ground beef, but I'm sure that would be delicious. We've got a baking dish. The standard issue is usually a 9x13 baking dish, but I happen to have this awkward size one. It's glass, so it's hard to see. 13.5 by 8 3/4. Isn't that interesting? And it's shallow. It's 1 3/4 deep. It's probably from the 80s, right? But I like this shape, and it's vintage Pyrex. Can you see that? When you get Pyrex and it's all in capitals, apparently that means it's vintage. Well, apparently it does look vintage. Okay, I am jibber-jabbering quite a bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil to the bottom of my baking dish and use a brush to distribute that. Just because in my past experiences, sometimes lasagna likes to stick. So just gonna give a little insurance. And then I've got a couple jars of pre-made pasta sauce. This is tomato basil marinara from Trader Joe's. So I believe this is $1.99 at the TJ's. Again, if you want to zhuzh this up, by all means. I'm going to put a nice coat on the bottom of my pan. Oh, behind me, I've got my oven preheating at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So 1 layer of sauce in the bottom of the dish. Next, I've got some fresh pre-made ravioli. This is 4 cheese from Trader Joe's. I think this was $3.99, $2.99. And I didn't realize that it was a product of Italy. So now we're going to take these little cute pastas, frozen, and arrange them in a layer. Now, I think this looks cute, and I happen to have the time to arrange these in a nice pattern, but if you don't, you can just dump them in, and I won't tell a soul. So 1 package for this size pan gives you a little bit more than 1 even layer. Look. Gorgeous. I've got some pre-shredded mozzarella, but I don't have enough, so I'm going to hand shred some other cheese that I had in my refrigerator. And you can use mozzarella. I think that's probably traditional, something that's not too strong tasting. And I'm going to be using some Monterey Jack because that's what my kids like. It's what I've got. Remember, this is a weeknight meal. We just want something on the table in very little time, right? I'm a fan of freshly shredded cheese if you have the time to do so, because I find it tastes better. But again, use what you got. Okay, this is a nice pile of cheese. So our 4 ingredients are pre-made ravioli, sauce, and cheese. 2 types of cheese, 4 ingredients, right? So now I'm going to sprinkle on some Parmesan. This gives it a saltier, funkier kind of flavor. If you've got ricotta cheese, that would work great. If you have grated Romano, that would work too. Now, the shredded stuff. Okay, beautiful. More sauce. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. And kind of distribute it a bit without disturbing the pasta too much. Kind of a gentle smushing around, you know? And I'm thinking that you could assemble this in advance. Say the day before, your party, whatever, and then you could bake it when you're ready. Then, more ravioli. I think even more sauce. Because we're not boiling the ravioli is going to be cooking in the sauce. I'm thinking good layer of sauce is an important thing. All right, continue. And these I took out of the freezer, but just sitting on the counter for a little bit, they've thawed a good amount. So 1 package creates 2 layers. Boom. Okay, more sauce. Oh, more cheese. I have another brick of cheese. I think I'm going to shred another brick so we have enough cheese to put on top. 2nd jar of sauce. And pour half of that right on top. Yeah, I think half for each layer is good. And distribute. Oh, I forgot the Parmesan on that layer, but that's okay. I'll add it next. Okay, more parm. Final layer of pasta. Put more pasta sauce. Not enough for the top. Okay. Final layer of pasta. So I love the fact that we don't have to boil our pasta in advance. No parboiling, no dealing with lots of boiling water. We're just putting it together. We're gonna be a little short. What the heck? I'm short 1 row of pasta. Ah! That's all right. We're gonna be all right. So we're going to top it with the remainder of our sauce, then the rest of the cheese right on top. If you want more cheese, by all means, cheese it up. Looks great already. And then a little extra parm. Now we're going to cover this with some foil. I'm going to use a little bit of that oil that I had on my brush from before and rub it onto the foil before I cover it. And try not to let it touch the pasta sauce because spaghetti sauce is acidic and it can munch through aluminum foil, so it could be corrosive. So we don't want that. We don't want that to happen. So trying to keep it from touching the lasagna itself. Alrighty, now into a preheated 400-degree oven. We're going to cook this for a half an hour covered. Then we're going to take the foil off and bake it for an additional 15 minutes. Then we're going to let it cool for about 10 minutes before we serve it up. It should solidify things. Alrighty, lovelies, I'll see you in a little bit when the ravioli lasagna is baked. Alrighty, in a little bit. Alrighty, my lovelies, here is the ravioli lasagna. It looks beautiful. Look at that. I have to say I was a little bit skeptical after half an hour when I removed the foil. I didn't see too much bubbling activity going on, and I said, is this really going to be done in 45 minutes? And indeed, I took off the foil and then put it back in the oven, another 15 minutes, and it was bubbling, gorgeous, and melty on top. Looks great. Looks great. Okay, now we're going to zhuzh it up with a little bit of greenery. Flat leaf Italian parsley would be best, but this is just a little bit of kale. Don't because I didn't have flat leaf parsley or parsley, any kind of parsley. I didn't have any basil, but I did have kale. And chopped up finely. Boom. Doesn't that look better? Let's go ahead and tuck into this. I'm going to be using a big spoon because remember, this is ravioli, so we should just be able to scoop it. Here we go. Look. Boom. Little mini lasagna. We'll do another corner here. Look at that. Little mini lasagna. Looks great. Look at that. Doesn't that look fantastic? Righty, time to grab a fork and see how we did. There's a little ravioli. Itadakimasu. Terrific. Nice and saucy, fully cooked and tender, but look, the one on the top looks to be a little bit crispy. Let's taste that one. Okay, not crispy, but the cheese has broiled a little bit on the top, so you get that kind of concentrated, toasty, cheesy flavor on top. Love that, but what I really love is that the pasta is perfectly cooked, and I didn't have to boil it at all. I just added sauce and it self-sauced, cooked itself. Beautiful. And it is very reminiscent of lasagna. Saucy, cheesy, pasta layers. It's great. And really couldn't be any easier. I took the time to lay out the ravioli in a nice even layer. But if you don't have the time for that, you can just add some sauce, dump the entire package of raviolis, add some more sauce, cheese, another layer dumped right on top. Because in the end, it's all gonna be covered with sauce anyways. You don't have to have them out perfectly. Although that makes me so happy when it all is nice and even. But sometimes you don't have time for that, right? This is great. It tastes like raviolis with sauce, but because we layered it with that extra cheese, it tastes richer and creamier and more lasagna-like. Delicious. I do have to say that this particular pasta sauce is a little bit tangy. So to offset that, I would add a little bit of sugar to this particular sauce, just to balance it out a little bit. I also really like the idea of adding some crumbled, cooked Italian sweet sausage to this to add another layer of flavor. But that involves more time and effort, and I'm dirtying up another pan. So, although I think it would be delicious, a little bit more effort. But as it is, I think this is excellent and oh so easy, and I'm going to feed it to my kids tonight. And if they like it, we'll be making it again. Alrighty, my lovelies, there you have it, a 4-ingredient dinner that you can have on the table in 45 minutes. That's how long it takes to bake, with 5 minutes of prep. That's it. 5 minutes, assemble, boom, into the oven. Go do your chores, go do whatever, drop your kids off to practice. Once you pick them up, dinner is ready. Boom. Alrighty, my lovelies, thanks as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Take care. Bye! Alrighty, I already have, this is my dinner.